Yay, I am live. Let's just arrange this. Okay. Welcome. The intention for this live tonight is to share further teachings of the flame. And the things that I can share on YouTube of that, I intend to share over multiple lives this year. So I look forward to this being a continuing conversation. And that's hopefully how teachings this year can be positioned, that in acknowledgement that we are all teachers, we all carry information, and data that we potentially have integrated, digested, and come to further conclusion or experience on. And so I look forward to you sharing yours as well. And hopefully we'll get the chance to learn from you as well. It's a big day. It's a big time. This year, 2024. And some of the things that also have been coming through to share of course, is what helpers or how we can further connect to our spiritual counsel or advisors. Connecting as well to the elements: air, earth, water, flame, space or spirit. And specifically to further our apprenticeship, so to speak, with the ancient ones, as well as whom wish to be called the forgotten ones. What some of the practices that potentially will come up, as you see within this live, are breath, sound, clearly speaking, as well as potential sounds, seed sounds, might be shared to support further transmutational processes. And tarot. And I shared in the content of this video below certain preparations that came through, certain things that I needed to share of right away. So I will add those also into the chat group now to see how I can further support any discussion on that. Okay, let's see if I can. Or am I not allowed to? Oh, there's only a certain amount of chat you can add at a time. Interesting. So there's kind of like a cap at the amount of words that you can. So I'll have to just put them in one at a time. Okay. So bear with me. That's the first preparation that showed up for this. The second and the third divination to support. Oh, the third divination is too long, so I believe they're wishing for me to read it out loud. Okay. All right. If you are new to my channel, you are new to the sound of my voice, new to my workings, I'm Josie. and pronouns they, them, as well as quite a mixed heritage that has been part of my, I guess, the reason why I've been on a spiritual journey so long is for within my living family, I didn't receive the answers. I didn't receive the further tutelage on the sensations or responses that my body carried to certain things occurring within society as well as around me. So that kind of led to an extensive and expansive decades of practices and processes and study of many different types of devotional practices, methods of connecting what I was experiencing within my body in response to things, to what also I was being taught and told with that has was stored in my mind as data, and of course then seeing how I could, um, with kind of different methods or ways, support a symbiosis of all of this kind of content, be it responsive, experiential, sensational content of my body, the dips, the blips, the feelings of heavy, light, expansive, contractive, all those things, as well as, of course, comprehending kind of like what with how to work with the mind and how to work with learning how to clear the mind from things that may have been ingrained in over time or grooved in. So the majority of my work that I can share here, of course, is on that tenet. And so the first kind of preparation for this session is to, it's not that I'm asking you all to believe my way is the best, right? Because each and every one of our ways carries merit and carries importance as we have done our healing work and merging and dissolving some of the divides within. I'm sure you have discovered specific ideologies that support you in your practices. And so it's not necessarily that I'm here trying to convert you to a specific ideology or method or way, more so to at least agree upon something, right? It's kind of like, um, acknowledging that we can have differences of experience, differences of opinion, but there are certain kind of things that this work may not be supportive for you if we did not agree on. And one of them for sure is the awareness that self liberation, so the meaning what we perceive of self, our body, our being, our experience, all the mental, the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, right? The all the different ways that we have divided and categorized and explored self. Okay, freeing self, because that's really what liberation is. Freeing self from the consternations, the um, the cacophony, the chaos of all those different experiences or the many experiences in one, in self, um, is what I'm speaking of. The self liberation of the divides between. So, is inherently interconnected, with our collective liberations of body, earth, and much, much, much more. So, that in summary, so to speak, is acknowledging that what we are doing on what we feel as the individual plane of understanding or experience or awareness is incredibly energetically. Now, when I mean inherently interconnected, it's like for someone that's been learning about energy and feeling and sensing energies from multiple beings, multiple life forces of multiple different planes of consciousness. Okay, as I furthered my healing of divides, like it opens up a plethora of experiences, and So when I mean inherently interconnected, the self to the collective, it's like if you don't realize that, we might have an issue. We might have a challenge. If you feel that like your self experience has absolutely nothing to do with what is occurring here on earth, that your self experience has no direct connection to someone else's experience in a different country, in a different placement on this earth. And so, uh, in us comprehending potentially what might feel as body, at times are categorized as a body experience, right? Of our body, our physicality, of all that is carried within us, to then what is comprehended as earth, the multiplicity, right? Like that again. I'm getting really strong to kind of just like emphasize the many in one. So if we're stating body, we realize that there's many things in that one term. And simply even on a scientific level, that could be all the multiple different systems from the cardiovascular to the lymphatic to, do you see like all the different types of systems that we have discovered are working simultaneously and in hopes for health and well-being in a level of symbiosis or complementary movements, so to speak, to support overall wellness of the one of the body. And so simultaneously, that same concept can be mirrored and applied towards the earth, right? Again, many things in earth, be it plant, animal, worm, mineral, microorganism, like to the smallest thing to the grandiose thing. And all of these things, though, well, do they work symbiotically? Well, the incredible thing is that we see on these gorgeous like programs about nature and animals is that when the rhythms and the cycles of what occurs over seasons, over moon cycles, and potentially even longer periods of time, are have an actual beautiful dynamic worked out that works, that has worked to support more life, even at times when some of those animals we've spoken of are like predatory or decimate living things, but like it's supporting this kind of pulsating ecosystem that will then kind of prompt new growth or further things to then come forward from that. So so Earth in that type of comparison can be a bit more difficult because then we go, but wait, humans came here. We in human body came here and have been born here for multiple generations, potentially multiple lifetimes, and carry all these memories and ways of multiple peoples, be it that it was our direct experience from a past lifetime or an experience from an ancestor that have contributed and to either support life on Earth or potentially to eradicate it in a way that is not cohesive to the cycles in nature, meaning just like the natural kind of life death cycles of things. So I'd like to kind of stick with those first two terms because much more, as you see, I didn't even kind of fill in the third. And you'll see that sometimes in us moving beyond comparative things or polarities or feeling kind of like this or that type of mentality, that stuff. I have at times had to kind of give a third piece of information, but what kind of came through with this is that there's such an importance in understanding this inherent connection between self and collective liberation right now, that if that isn't comprehended adding a third term, right? Adding a third thing that in there is going to be like, okay, I've lost it all. I'm going to just tune out. Okay. So the much more is to feel that um, that collectively there is connection on body plane. Collectively, of course, there is connection on earth plane. And there are many more connections between those two terms and even outside of those two terms that energetic living life forces connect with or connect in certain ways. So, and what does this mean in brass tacks is that if be aware that if certain peoples are speaking of liberating self, freeing self from devise, freeing self from suffering, freeing self from pain, okay? All the big things this year. If we're discussing that and not addressing the amount of pain and suffering that is currently being experienced on this earthly plane right now, it's not the whole picture. It won't actually allow that liberation to occur within self. It won't actually allow that to occur. And so I can feel like sometimes they're like, oh shit, feeling some blips and dips already in the body from that statement. So does that mean that you have to like become what you see someone else doing and how they are standing up for the innate inefficiencies of our systems, or the immense horror and terror that is occurring, that we are currently having to bear witness to, specifically in what's occurring within Palestine, what's occurring within Africa. And that's just to name two. Again, I'm keeping the naming of things to two. It's not that I'm negating that there is no other places in the world or spaces in the world that level of just that level of chaos and terror is occurring. Okay, it is more so to just give a little to chew on. So so it is important at this time, by this date, January 20th, 2024, if you are on a journey that you have titled as spiritual, physical, emotional, mental, of self, of freeing and liberating self of something that is carried within some of those categories, then it is inherently important for you to start to connect the dots and see how what is occurring in those four quadrants of self have almost like magnified to a level that requires action. And that action, of course, some will have ways of acting that might sound very loud to other people, and it's not always sharing to be as loud as that person, right? We're not here to compare everyone's ways of potentially supporting disruption. And why, and that kind of brings me to the second point that I placed in as preparations for this connection, which was, how can we sit with both the triggers and the glimmers whilst remembering that shadows or shit that slaps true is not only yours or mine, but ours. And what I wish to kind of add to that is as a seer that sits with council and shares what they're capable of, you know what I mean? In any type of session, circle, or connection, be it on this platform or be it on Zoom, online, or in very private connections. Okay. Um, I've shared this even with those that I've supported through trainings in different energetic practices and ways, that to be aware that there is an innate reflection of what you see within someone else, what you kind of like read specifically, because as a seer, we kind of say that I'll come and get a tarot reading, so like what you read within someone else, you're capable of seeing. You're capable of seeing because potentially you have witnessed that within yourself or within another lifetime, right? Another experience of you. And so what potentially you bring up, right? It's not about me just kind of throwing truth bombs and hoping to trigger the F out of all of you. It's acknowledging that, please know that I also review and watch every video that I put out and eat a whole bunch of humble pie and sit with things after and continue to learn from the things that potentially also triggered or brought up glimmers within me. So it has been an immense process to support that, of realizing that when we gather, when we receive information from spirit, when we receive further an awareness and support to assist us in the collective liberation of bodies and earth, as well as realizing we are part of that collective. So that includes self-liberation, is to start to kind of go, right, that idea of I am one, and the idea that I am flame. There, I carry a flame. I carry something that allows me to be aware and to be here. It's not that then again, I'm trying to just like get a couple of other flames and we'll be like this special flame thing over here. It's realizing that with flame work, doesn't matter how many flames are lit. Once they step in together, it becomes one big fire, one big flame. And there might be a dancing of that, and there might be different spits that come out, and there might be different expressions that are carried from those multiple flames in that one fire. But to be aware that flame work really, really asks you to start to take those things that you have differentiated as like one or all or many and one, and realizing that they are in the same, there is a sameness to those terms. Hope you're with me. If there's any questions, you're welcome to share as I go, and as I share just what's coming, what's arising for this connection. So those are kind of the first two tenets to really comprehend what flame work is about. It's not trying to blend, release or get rid of any of your individuality. Okay. It's acknowledging autonomy, acknowledging agency that is carried. Autonomy is kind of like that, the awareness for sure of being able to be sovereign, as it's been shared, or like to govern your own ordinances and awarenesses. So there isn't a respect, of course, for the autonomy of the one, but also acknowledging that once we respect and honor the autonomy of one, then we can respect and honor the autonomy of all. And then how though then can we have a collective ideation or awareness of how we can free ourselves from further suffering, pain, and discomforts, be it from an individual level or a collective level, is then to go right back to however I choose to see something, be it that I am seeing it on a collective level and experiencing the response within my body and allowing that for me to support a transmutation within me so that then I could potentially reach out on a larger scale. So with that, and I'm sure as I said, I'll review the video later and then I'll probably be like, I want to share so much more about that, or I missed out on a couple things, but that's just how lives go, right? It's an ongoing conversation. But with that, of course, is then the last divination that I wanted to share prior to that came prior to me coming on this live was, and I'll actually just read it, was the importance this year of becoming comfortable with the different typifications. So the different ways that we've like categorized energy sensations in our body, be it light and heavy, solid and soft, all the things, all the ways, fill them in. Start to become comfortable with those different ones to support our bodies in moving through this world of disruptions, whilst learning how to be in symbiosis with our own capacity to disrupt. I really kind of like this. I was like, oh, okay. It's taken me some time to get comfortable with disruption myself. That was a lot of my training practice last year. And if disruption brings up something right now, I would suggest for sure the divine transmissions on the divine or the direct channel playlist on this page really support some cleansings on getting comfortable with sound disruption and how that brings up different responses in the body. Or, of course, the 33-day meditation playlist is a great practice as well, and just honor which ones you or the order, the way that you wish to practice and process those. So, and then they continued, right? And us moving through this world of disruptions was learning how to be in symbiosis with our own capacity to disrupt, with our sound and energy, to help remedy the flow of terror that is still trying to end life instead of support it. And so that really brings me to this awareness that this is a disruption for also a collective goal of not just liberating and, of course, freeing ourselves from pain and suffering, but then a collective goal of to protect and support life on this planet, to protect and support life. And that means protecting humans, protecting animals, plants, water, earth, everything carries an energetic charge and a life force to it. So hence why the first teaching of the flame that wished to be shared was this understanding of how to, or if there's also any questions about that, you're welcome to bring them in, but of connection to protection. Many people kind of, now you have to understand my background. I carry multiple ancestries, and the way the majority of the ancestors that I tend to work with, I've been able almost to access those more wise ways, so to speak, because I had to move through some of the ancestors that brought all the shit to the yard, that were the winners, so to speak, were the ones that were messing with life on this plane, and of course had to then kind of melt the shackles of those grooved in types of things within my body and mind, to then be able to kind of move forwards. And I know I say forwards, but it feels like that, because as we're, moving through our ancestry, it feels like we're kind of moving forwards, even though we're moving like farther into the root, or maybe that's back in time, or all that type of fun play with time. But to move forwards then with more of like the ancestry that carried informations for me that could further support rectifying and shifting things in self, as well as in whatever community or collective area or space that I chose to support. And that carries the energies of Norse, Celtic, Incan, as well as Mesoamerican. Mm. And they're very different. So where was I going with this? I always get sidetracked when I bring in my ancestors. Yes. So part of my ancestry shares that in protection work, and why I'm very comfortable in protection work, well, is because I've continued to require almost that energetic information from a very like early age. Unfortunately, I just was in a lot of very difficult situations that continue to kind of make me like travel and move to places that felt safer within body and home. And so from that, uh, those were kind of some of the first gifts that just naturally stepped through to support me in surviving and continuing to live. So with that, I give much gratitude to the protectors of Puma, as well as those that were in human form that spoke more of it in a French term of protecteur. And almost the sounding of that to me reminds me of like a protractor. And that's kind of like the energy of it. To just be aware that protection is not necessarily about constant defense, right? Or attack, right? Of how we kind of see people speaking of protection kind of on literal terms. Protection is a way of energetically aligning or coordinating the many blips and dips within your energetic body for a collective purpose. And within that kind of like, again, I kind of see it like this like protractor, and how it just kind of, it's like bringing the coordinates in a way to prevent things, to prevent potential, to support further definite well-being, health and well-being. So to prevent dis-ease, literally, and then also to support and protect the mind from potential bombardment of there's a lot of consumers out here. And I don't want to say that like meaning that I'm blaming a consumer. We're all consumers. We consume things. We consume food. We eat. We are natural feelers and consumers energetically, but they're mentally, for sure. And I'm sure you find also on the emotional planes, there are those that kind of maybe aren't aware as much of how much energy they're consuming. And so it becomes almost like they consume too much of you, too much of, and end up messing up the equilibrium. So protection can sometimes be felt like it is also naturally supporting your body and your energetic being, to prevent, yes, that from occurring, but also even to become aware of when that is occurring, and then to support with your sound and your breath ways of disrupting that transference from fully occurring. Yeah, I like that. I like how that was shared. So, yes, connection to protection. And it was neat because when I was writing it, I was going to share blood and bones because definitely there is a lot of protection in the bones, a lot of protection from your ancestors, basically, that are kind of etched into the energetic consistency and makeup of energetic consistency of the bone, of your bones. But that information, so to speak, is not for this chat. It's a bit more, it's required to be a bit more contained because it depends on actually your bone structure, your ancestral makeup. And I look forward to kind of honoring that. That's why I'm kind of realizing that's why I always have to carry and keep some private workings alive, even though I'm freeing up a lot of my teachings and sharings, and those private workings would be best shared as kind of like energy cleansing connection, that we could potentially work more into the energy of the bones. Blood. So what came through to really speak of was blood, though, yes, and vines, and that would be the awareness of kind of like the two really moving, flowing, and growing energetic structures that can support either you to be well amidst all this, all the disruption that is occurring, as well as that will occur as things are further rectified. Um, hmm. But they wish for me to share further of this in a connection, which I'll do, right? Like very shortly. I just need to see if I need any other introduction before we get into an actual energetic connection. Those that have been forgotten. Those that have been forgotten within your lineages may be the ones that weren't on the winning sides, maybe the ones that I remember whenever I think of this term. I remember an ancestor that I met that was feverishly writing certain anarchistic materials that could really get them in trouble. And witnessing kind of like when their time came, that they knew they were caught, that someone was, the authorities that were in that time were going to show up at their door and take them away and their life. And so I remember seeing them, like, they kind of finished the feverish writing, right? The feverish writing, and instead took all those beautiful writings, took all those things that their thoughts, their ways of understanding and comprehending the world, their voice, and took those papers and put them in the fire. Because acknowledging that the information almost was like too valuable to let those people of authority to take. And so then sometimes their ideologies in the sea of connecting to your ancestry, right? Like think of in connecting then to the simplicity of it, be it where were they placed in the world? What was the political and social environment at that time? What were the needs of the people? All of these things that we take into account, and then realize though that even in times that might have We have simplified to be like, oh, that was a country that was bad at that time, or that, they were doing some really effed up things on a political level. There were still people. There were still people within those times, even in those places, that were resisting or shifting or disrupting things. And so, but um, in the potentiality and kind of like the dilution as we connect to ancestor at times, we miss out on their voices. And so there is a deep ask in this conjunction that you can further, I'll place a link below to some of my pals on Patreon, that have some good information on the conjunction that is today. Uh, this conjunction is kind of like they have stepped up, for example. So they're kind of like, okay, so good on you for moving through the ancestry that you have, and now can you start to potentially further access from the disruptions or the responses that are within your blood, or um, within the kind of like ecosystem of self, the ecosystem of self. Uh, when you still receive those responses that might feel, that you might have termed before, like, oh, this is a bad response or an annoying response or a caca response, to almost like see how you can sit with that shifting within the mind and being like, right, like this potentially not necessarily is actually bad. It just could be carrying some heavy. It could be carrying something that's still that has solidified a bit, that I can then support in softening or in dispersing in me, to further access some of the liberational wisdom that we actually all carry within uh, the shit disturbers and the ones that the forgotten ones. And so I give deep, deep moment of honor and respect to all of those who have stepped before on these planes, and in times that I can't even comprehend, um, having to live through and survive, and for some of them to still say no, and to step up, and when everyone else might have been following kind of like the collective direction, and for them to disrupt, to share their sound, their voice, their words, in ways that could support shift. They are felt. They are felt. They're almost sharing energetically that, in acknowledging those forgotten ones, it's almost like acknowledging your history of supporting shift, your history of supporting good disruption to assist further life, to assist that we could be here, you know. um hmm. Ancients, we all have access to ancients. It just takes some time. We are all walking with elders. And those that are ancient, I cannot, and I'm not really allowed to define, okay? I can't really explain that term. It is more so once you are in relation with those ancients, that then you can comprehend and respect the sacred of that. And many of you are. So it is a deep, deep honor to be in presence. And then to acknowledge, of course, that all of these are of what could be shared of as first family, first awareness of connection between many in one awareness, which is of elements of air, water, fire, earth, space, spirit. We become good travelers through the many realms of consciousness, through the many liberatory processes on even the quadrants of self or the collective that we have put out there or defined or articulated. Once we come from a perspective of that everything consists of these elements. There is some questions I'm getting about then soul, for, of course, people that people or groups of people that have then named themselves certain things. Who are doing incredibly terrible acts that are equating into immense loss of life unnecessarily. It's like, okay, well, are they included in that? It's like, yes, but to be aware that there is aspects of the whole in things that are quite still kind of like hierarchical, or like I'm more powerful than you, or I have more power than you, or I'm better than you, or all of that type of comparative polarization um, of humanity that actually kind of fractalize um, the soul, and so very, very, very lost souls. And of course, within collective liberation, prayers even out to those very, very, very lost souls to support potentially some retrieval, so that they could potentially then heal those ingrained grooves of supremacy, to potentially correct, rectify, or apologize for some of their actions, um, and to move forward with in further ways of collective liberation of the earth and support and protection of the earth. Whew, heavy stuff. And I haven't even gotten into tarot. So the connection to protection, I am getting that we will share a little bit to close. So then that way it'll be easy to access on repeat or review. I'll try to timestamp it if you're watching this on replay or again, so that you can then access that energetic practice to support you. Because in knowing that the energetic practice, I practice it too and review it too, and may it support us, as well as may it then supporting us, of course, support more. That we can then disperse into all of the other circles and ways that we are coordinating, organizing, acting this year to promote further life. And to read the tarot today, what I was getting is that to acknowledge that many of us listening, even under that kind of those collective tenets, like meaning if you're still here listening, it still does not mean that we're all the same, obviously, right? Like we all have these unique mixes of energetic workings between these things that have been seemingly separate. Um, so I wanted to kind of give an honor to the practice of giving three different groupings that you see a lot on kind of like those pick a cards, but in doing it in a bit of different way. Um, for in a lot of those in a lot of the times of the pick a card, right? We will take what we want and we'll not listen to the rest or something because we feel that maybe it's not pertaining to us and it's pertaining to someone else in the group. But then as we realize in this self-liberation inherently interconnected to collective liberation, that group divination, collective divination right now is going to be really, really potent for the messages received in a group format, so to speak, will almost like share message that can support all in the group, like finding the commonalities in our innate and unique and beautiful differences of where we are within our own progresses. And of course, you're welcome to listen to all three, because what they were sharing in preparations was like that even in these three groupings, you might choose a grouping, right? But then the information that might come in another grouping might support you in comprehending or further digesting why maybe someone else around you within your life is acting or behaving in a certain way. It's almost like they were sharing like these three groupings of tarot cards will support you in moving through your shit while also kind of further supporting you in making some semblance of peace with with where others may be placed within your life to support this work or not to support. I'm a big person about taking back space to support your being at times. So to acknowledge that, like, I'm not asking you to, of course, break bread with with people that are really, really riling or provoking or making your life difficult or creating and giving you unnecessary pain and suffering. Okay. It is not that. It's acknowledging that, okay, they can still live, right? They just need to like live a little further away from you and maybe be in less communication. Okay. So in the three groups, I'm going to pull a feeling card so you can choose one of these three cards to support. And if you choose with stone, then I will also share a stone for each of these pulls. And then what I will do is I will pull one tarot card for each group. And no, the reason for that is what they're kind of sharing is that instead of like getting really like extensive and like TMI, too much information, it's like see that you can then sit with that card, right? Like to allow yourself to percolate and to move through your days with that card, potentially research further. That's the beautiful beauty of tarot, is that there's tons of Googleable ways of deciphering and defining those cards. So that like you can then further see how it can relate to many different understandings. And you're welcome to share with them as they develop. But this is the way that kind of I connect a lot of the times to doing my own personal tarot cards is yes, I'll maybe draw one or three cards and then let them sit out for like a good until I feel like I fully comprehended the message. And that could be a week, that could be sometimes even 2 weeks. And of course, with some of these collective ones, I'm sure who knows, it might be longer or less. Okay. So I thank you for bearing with this live. All right. So for group one. Ooh. Group one. It's this beautiful card. And I'm guided to work with this beautiful quartz for group 1. Okay. So letting yourself connect to any messages already you might receive, some if you're very connected to stone and crystal. And might even already start to see some things within here that you can jot down, you know, like if you start to see images or things form within these beautiful blobs of blue and yellow. So group 1 is the quartz with that card. And I'm getting that the tarot deck that we will pull the card from will be the psychic tarot for group 1. Okay, so I'm just kind of placing them all like so. Oh, and group 2 pulled out too. Like it was neat. Like it just kind of popped out. I didn't even have to ask for it. I love it. So group 2 feeling card. What do you feel? What do you feel? So this is neat. The other one was kind of blue and yellow. This is adding still some blue, but then there's like some red or a pink tone to it. Welcome to share what you see within that. Oh, and I'm getting a rainbow obsidian. This one specifically. Rainbow obsidian. So if you're connecting to the stone or this image, to know that you will be part of the group 2 message. And I always hear, see, I love this. I love this. I always come in with certain ideas and plans. And like, I wasn't thinking I would be using the traditional Rider-Waite deck, but nope, group 2 is asking for it. So traditional Rider-Waite deck will be utilized with group 2. Ooh, thank you for sharing, Passion Madeira. The red feels like the brain I get because of fibromyalgia. Interesting. Interesting. Ooh, okay. I'm going to take a note back on that when I step into the reading for group 2. Thank you for sharing that insight. Wow. Wow. Okay. Whew. Group 3. Group 3. Oh, I'm feeling, oh, whoa. Okay. So if you've been following along, group 1, again, quartz crystal, and this tone, this beautiful feeling card. It does have a word to it, but I'm just not sharing the words yet. Group 2 with this rainbow obsidian. It's neat. I like Passion that you brought in the red, because even it's neat. Like there's lots of red flecks in this obsidian, and for me, usually obsidian is just all black. Which leads me then to, like, from all of that color in those first 2, like I've actually never seen this card or received this card in this deck. So I'm very curious to see what it's all about. And yeah, yep. All right. All right. It was like very clear, just plain black obsidian for this one. So it's quite neat. These are actually all the stones that did step in as well, are all quite protective stones. The quartz, I would say, would just be a bit more of a clarifying stone in comparison to protection, but that can support protection, right? We cleanse, we clear in order to support the memory of our body to protect. So I love how already some messages are coming in for what group 1. Woo! All right. And for the third group, I will be working with the This Might Hurt tarot deck, which I am stoked to connect with as well. Or I just received it. I will also list below the decks I've used, so you're always welcome to check in on them. These feeling cards are from the Cosmic Laws Oracle, and are by I believe, an artist located in Portugal. So they have their own website, and I will link it below as well. Okay. So again, I thank you all for stepping in and connecting, be it live or be it on replay. And how I will be sharing these group messages is in a flow. For they're sharing that you may feel interconnected. You may receive certain things from each. And they're just acknowledging kind of like different sensations, emotions, or energetic charge that people might be really aligning to. But so they're also spirit is kind of going like good stuff, like for you to have the capacity to sit and not just listen to like what you're 100% aligned with, but then to also like sit with something that you just might want to chew on, or receive and see, maybe I can learn something from that, even if I am not in that energetic connection exactly. So they're almost commending you for this process. Okay, so first emotion was actually humility. The word and the number that came with it was 35. Humility for group one. And as soon as I brought in that, I really do see, I see a very soft, naturally very gentle energy. Probably a lot of you are extra sensitives, and from the stars. Sorry, I'm seeing some light shift. So like some of the star elders are going, hello, acknowledge us. And I do see, oh my goodness, yeah, so much in this now. Yes. Acknowledge and welcome your innate and unique connection. And I know they're sharing. Sorry, this might be kind of direct, so pardon me with the pronouns or things, because sometimes I might just speak to you, and it's just because then it'll be a direct. But acknowledge that you come with great lineage. You come with great lineage, and sometimes the lineages uh, that you have accessed within your physical structure, the ancestries that you have accessed from the data given to you from your families, handed and passed down from generation to generation, has never felt fully complete. And that is because um, part of your ancestry is not of this world, not of this earth that you are on. But and so with that, it is not to then feel, I love that this word comes in humility. For it's not then to go, my awareness is better than yours, oh humans, with your earthly issues. But definitely to almost I'm seeing like to be um a beacon of light amidst some of the cacophony and the difficulty on these planes, and that will support you in further learning some of the agreements of why you agreed to come into human form, and why you can't decided to come into these physical planes at this time. There's reason for you to be in body. There's reason for you to be on earth. And to honor your gentleness, and to know that that strength is also needed this year. Star beings are very talkative, so it takes some time to apologize if that came out really quick. Yeah, some of you are have great missions, like and feel already that you have had really connected to strong purposes. In like, like you're like, yes, I'm carrying, I know what I'm meant to do in my life. But with the okay, this is where the some of the teachings might need to be um of feeling sometimes overwhelmed. Okay. And I get this a lot. Everybody's like, are you overwhelmed right now? Right? Like there's so much to handle. So see what you can do to cater to your level of overwhelm. And I am not here to make fun of overwhelm. Clearly overwhelm can be a traumatic response. And everyone is in different stages and phases of moving through things. But and this is a collective reading. And so the collective awareness for this group's message, that's coming through, even just from these chatty Cathys from this card, is to share, whew, that with this kind of collective consciousness, yes, has evolved. Collective consciousness has expanded, and it's feeling more, and with that feeling of more expandedness in consciousness, right, then you can equate that word of consciousness to awareness. And so the feelings of overwhelm, within the physical body, or the old ways of like kind of responding to things, of going, whoa, that's a lot for me to handle, or whoa, that's a lot for me to do in a day, or whoa, that's a lot for me to process, right? Might also be an old response. And it's like, even the gentlest of us need to expand, to become like, just to be aware that we are just simply on a collective level more aware. We are simply on a collective level more aware. And so then with that higher or more expanded level of awareness collectively, there is clearly just going to be more things that you will come, right? That you will be, yeah, that you will see, that you will receive, that you will respond to, within a day. And so if you are feeling specifically overwhelmed, they're giving some processes, but I'd like to then pull a tarot to further this message. Okay, so to add to this for group one, yeah. Wow. Okay, I want you to see these two together. I'm going to get to the humility. I'm going to get to it. I promise that word. Recognition and reward. Like, look at that. Look at that humble stance. Look at the yellow light and the blue all around. Do you see some similarity within those two stances? The awareness, yes, of your light. The awareness, yes, of your magnificence. The awareness, though, that you are also of body, of earth. And it's not that we are here in servitude. Some of your alien counterparts kind of have shared kind of certain translations or ways of you kind of comprehending the history of your planets, that may have, like, you may have first come here in that way or in that state. And part of the alchemy of you in this life has been to kind of move beyond a feeling that you are simply a servant to something. And so this is a 3 in the physical realm. Okay, so this would be similar to 3 of Pentacles. All right. But in the psychic tarot, this is known as the physical card. This is actually talking about the physical body and like the quadrants of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Okay. And so this is, I get long time coming for this group, that there's been some type of requirement or wish for some further retribution, physical retribution, and potential reward on this plane. But that I really connect to this group too, because I felt this, and sometimes still feel it, that the difficulty of being recognized, or kind of like how these capitalistic structures have placed that, like, you kind of get rewarded once you're like fully, like, you're out there like a celebrity or things like that. And they're trying to share, like, not to worry, like, you don't only have to be seen or recognized in those kind of really like grandiose ways, right? You can still honor your humble nature whilst Honor your humble nature, your gentle nature. Build the capacity, right? Gently, slowly, over days of just like, how can I allow what my body is receiving and responding to, specifically in the physical realm. I'm getting for this, like in your physicality, of like the day-to-day crunch of things. Even how can you acknowledge those things without getting like almost back into that pathway of servitude, being like, oh, like, I'm getting like, oh, this is life, or like, this is like the thing I just got to do, and just like swing the thing, or do it again and again, and la 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 la. So a message forwards to support your transmutative processes, for group 1. You have done well. You have done well, sweet loves. You have done well. But now it is time to see how you can move forwards in potentially stepping off the platform of 1 and allow some of your gentle graces in places that may have brought a little overwhelm or uncertainty prior to. It's like, get just a little out of the comfort zone. This is not like all of a sudden going and speaking and connecting to 50,000 people. This may be simply having some good conversations with 2 or 3 people. You know what I mean? And fostering it as such, to support you and them through it in furthering your learning ground. There is also some potential for physical disconnections or issues in kind of the hip to the knee area that are feeling a little off the rocker type of idea, that are feeling a little out of sync. And they're sharing that not to, we with gentle souls, we kind of like overthink of things, over analyze to the nth, to the nth, to the nth, about all the different ways of what this could be, right? What it's like the worst type of Google searchers, and finding out like hip hurts, what comes up? So for this group, they're going like, really see if you can call in your star elders, call in those beings to support you, because they're healing. You're doing some deep healings on some very subtle planes that have finally grounded, like that are finally doing some big shifts in some of the areas that were feeling very solid or stuck for quite a while. So they're showing like kind of like just really gentle movements, like putting on like the softest music, allowing yourself really slow breaths, and to see like kind of like, it's not trying to push your body through the pain, but just like seeing what is this. Kind of brings me to my mobility work of just like seeing like what is my range of motion, that feels okay. Maybe it was yesterday this, but then because of all the things I was aware of and all the things I became conscious of, now maybe it's going to be here today. And this feels fluid and graceful for me. And then tomorrow, after I rest and work with my lovely shadow healers on my dreams planes, then maybe it will shift. Maybe it will shift and be a wider range, or maybe it will even be more constricted. And so they're just kind of going like to, dependent on the constrictions or pains, just really gentle, subtle mobility work. I hope that supports. So that is for group 1. And yes, believe in the reward. Believe in the reward. Can you believe in you being rewarded, and not just for being like in servitude, but being rewarded for your dignity that you have carried yourself through multiple difficult situations, as well as maintaining and keeping your integrity intact. It's like seeing how can you reward yourself as well for things, instead of just like waiting for rewards, waiting for others to acknowledge. How can you be a more proactive rewarder in your own life during these times? And for this beautiful one, and I'm blown away, this kind of red brain fog that was felt in this card, because the word is wisdom. So I was just like, whoa, thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for sharing your strength, without even knowing that potential group 2 is bringing in, yes, wow, group 1, if you're bringing in some practice, deep practice now of humility. This one is really on comprehending the wisdom of these things. Whoa. It's like literally I'm seeing this kind of like wise elder, kind of like looking at that thing that has been defined or categorized as like, this is uh this is the fog, right? This is the brain. Even if we just said it was that, this is, I also see, no, it's neat. I do actually kind of see now that it's been brought in a brain with like its spinal thing. I see like the being kind of here with their the energy of their lips, like sharing and speaking the what has been kind of chewed upon and comprehended from this introspective look at that thing, whatever that thing may be, whatever comes up as the thing that you're kind of going, this doesn't belong. Because I even see in like the red and the blue, right? Like, as a painter, I love painting with red and blue, because for me it's such a marriage of like those things that feel like fiery and watery, like those things that have been categorized as such opposites. And so it's like, wow, I so want calm. I so want to be this like zen, wondrous, like being, this sage, wise being. But there's this thing that still doesn't, I'm getting that song, like one of these things not like the other. Like that's still like just like poking out there and going, hey, like pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. um hmm and with the energy and the number of 2 and 9, wow, this is like, there's going to be a completion or an awareness, um in that kind of whatever you're self-analyzing, or really kind of like looking at deeply, and to ingest this year. There's a very direct message, kind of like there's going to be an awareness this year. So this year is quite paramount in the 9, like meaning the finality of something. So uh like and I almost get it. It's like they're like, and it might not necessarily be like this miraculous healing, right? If it's a physical issue, like I'm going, oh my gosh, you mean like my ailment is then all of a sudden I'm going to wake up one day and it's just going to be like miraculously taken care of? And they're like, but it could, because something will shift within the perspective that you see it, and so then you'll support it starting to shift in a different way, like that your body then can carry it in a different way, so to speak. This is a really neat group. Whoa, I'm loving the energy of this. And that must be because of the rainbow obsidian too. Like, even this is a new obsidian for me, and I've been really blown away by the energy of it. For I've been seeing a lot within the stones themselves. um and this, I'm seeing 2 specific runes. Uh, if you are familiar with the Hagalas, or this rune, I'm just going to place the 2. I don't want to speak them both. The actual sounds of the runes carry a lot of energy. And it's neat because um, The H rune I really connect to when the etching, the last kind of sigil at the end of my name. That's actually the beginning of the first letter of my last name. And it's the chaos, right? It's like the shit disturber. It's the one that, like, you know what I mean? Like there's a healthy disruption. It's acknowledging kind of like this is this is neat. Okay, this is why I was getting this information before. This connection of kind of like, how there, in my last talk of like how there's been all this like typifying and so many more different ways of how you experience your energy, of going like, this energy is like feminine, and then this is like wild feminine, or this would be like considered dark feminine or toxic feminine, and then this is like good masculine energy, but then that's for sure like toxic masculine, or the caca masculine, like in whichever ways. And so even in like the blue and the red, I'm getting to there might be a bit of working between some of these terms within you, and really realizing, like, coming to peace with them, coming to peace that, like, who's to say that, like, what has been defined as wild feminine isn't just freaking like the true power of the vibrational energetic force that has been quantified as such. And who's to say that, like, the intense masculine is just like excessive pulsation, energetic pulsation, to the point that it's creating massive, like just too much. It's too much. And so, like, the beauty of us carrying more than one energy is that we then get to decipher and discover how those energies can work together to support each other, so that we don't feel like the energy is overly one or the other, or yeah, I don't want to get into too many brass tacks with this group, because you're well studied. You're well studied. You don't need all of that. So this is a really neat thing. I'm seeing, like, okay, like, I've connected to all the things that I've accessed within what I've quantified as like good integral self. But there's still these like fuckers. There's still this shit that's arising within me, and it's almost like, and I find it quite interesting that there's like space, right? Like, it's like pulling this thing out way further and than is required, when it's going like, wait a second, well, wait, where can that be? Where can that move? And then potentially be supported, that energy to disperse through like the whole. I'm literally seeing, like, if you like took this red, popped it into this beautiful blob of blue, right? Instead of just thinking, oh, then it's going to be like a blob of red in the middle of a blob of blue. It's like, no, like, then that red could like start to disperse and move through all of that blue, just to keep with the color analogy here. So, ooh, and the neat thing too, and I love when I brought that up, though, I did see, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it, it's really faint, that there's kind of like these three little drops, boop, boop, boop. They're coming from this almost like washing effect, that are showing also that there is going to, there some good cleansing, but this is not cleansing on like a big level. This is literally going like, this isn't the thing that needs to be cleansed. This is the thing that wishes to be integrated into the whole, but to honor that some of it may have felt excess. And so, yes, like, to rightly so, they're like, instead of having to listen to 15,000 other people telling you like, this is the correct balance, right? It's going like, wait a second, I've been around the park. I know my body. I feel what allows me to move and function and breathe on these planes. And so it's about kind of learning how to take that energy, incorporate it into your whole, and then see how you can allow that energy to kind of break up. And that disruption, yeah, see, that's a disruption, that dispersion. Then you could, it's almost like then going, instead of then feeling like, you might actually start to feel as it disperses, that like these kind of electrical impulses that might like pop up in different flashes of things that might get you kind of freaked out. But they're like, then to learn how to move the thing that is soothing, that you have worked so hard on building and creating within your body. Move the things that are, learn how to move the things that are soothing around those pulsative energies a bit more. And this is like deep internal work. So as I said, I really feel that some of you really know your bodies very well. And when I mean body, like when I speak of when you know your bodies, it's like meaning like from the physical to the emotional, to the mental, to the spiritual, to the energetic, like all of the awareness of you. You've done some really wondrous work. And sometimes some of us who have done that wondrous work have started because of pain, or immense aches and tension in the body. That's why I started a lot of my work, is that the mental and emotional pain finally just manifested in my teens, like into immense physical pain that I had to address. I had to address it. And then from kind of first addressing that, then I moved back into unpacking and unraveling all the mental and the emotional shit to get to get to the whole. So this shows like a long journey in becoming aware of how things are. And so I really wish to kind of extend to this group deep honor and deep respect, like to know that whatever I share, it's not to provoke you in thinking that you do not know. They really want to be very clear. You're very aware of your form. You're very aware of your being. And this is now some very kind of subtle dispersion work that potentially we can address a bit in the energetic connection at the end of this connection. They're sharing, and like the connection to protection of the blood and binds. Woo! Let's see. Rider Waite for group 2 to further this message, because the more I look at like, I love it with from such deep study. Like, it's like every time I look back at this card, I receive another little nugget. And so that they're sharing that too. It's like, let yourself really percolate with this card. I'm even going to give it up for a second. So I know there's a bit of like reflections, but that you could like screenshot and enjoy maybe the different forms that show up for you, and to let yourself see how that changes within the day, even, or after certain practices that you do, of what other message might arise. Okay. And so okay. Let's see if I can just get my hands around the one that flew for that. Thank you, Tarot. Whoa. All right, Major Arcana. Major Arcana for group 2. Oh, I'm coughing up with ya. Woo! We receive the Death card. 13. Death, and this is like one just deep reverence for Pluto is conjunction tonight, like literally, I think it was like at its zenith point, like 8 a.m. Eastern, and then could be at its fullest kind of like disfuffle and around about an hour ago when I started this live. And so there's almost like they first, with receiving the Death card and how Pluto really governs the awareness of that, they just kind of really want to honor also that you've worked hard in getting your body rhythms in connection to the cycles of the planets, the moon, the sun, the stars. Deep reverence for your work. And they know that it hasn't always been fun. The reason for a lot of the times of our depth and intensity of our work with self is because we are in pain. We have or are suffering. They share within this card too. I'm seeing a lot within the multiple beings and how they are connecting to this kind of messenger of death. I'm almost seeing like the different times within our life of this group, like of times, the times of child, times of teenager, times of kind of like feeling that you're an elder, times of feeling that you're okay, now I'm a caregiver or a parent. Like all there were multiple times, in your life that you really had to face end, and end in a way. It's neat, like this 2-9, right? This kind of finality. um End in a way that well, they're like, could you, if you remember some of those, that would be the first thing to start to unpack this message, is to remember those times when you and maybe some of the memories might come up within dream or within the next couple days as you kind of chew on the message after watching this video. Um, for some of those memories might arise, and they're not there to share for you to kind of like wallow and going, oh, right, I remember that pain when I was 10 years old, or I remember that like immense anguish when I was like at 14. I remember that immense like level of despair when I was 25 or 33, right? Like they're like, it's in that memory, or in that awareness of like those times that were just kind of like those final calls, when you were just like a pulpy mess of going like, help, help, I need assistance, I need some support. And how incredible that the help that arrives is this scary being with, well, like 11, the Rider Waite, it's literally shown like in the most kind of like um on a horse with the metal armor, carrying a flag with potential promise, potential growth, this flower, right? This awareness of something potential, the potential of the rebirth to come. Oh, there's the light coming. The potential of the rebirth to come, reminding you that yes, that yes, I acknowledge your desire to end. I acknowledge your desire to like close this plea, or to halt this level of despair or pain. And I see you, like I'm really seeing that within the death messenger, in this card for y'all, is that it's just like literally like they're showing up and going, I see you. I see that you want to end it. I see the many times that you've shared and asked for assistance. And now can you see like how many actual times that you rebirthed yourself, that you supported deep change. And so if you have done that in multiple times already within your life, they're like, this one, I understand why. Then they're saying like this is kind of the end of something. They're like, this year potentially for this group, this could be like some very big finalities, some final endings to support this like um wondrous shift. And but they're sharing that the shift also might be like, and I keep coming back to that, of perspective amidst it all. And that's a hard one. Perspective shift is difficult, specifically for people who are wise. I understand that. And the more knowledge we gain, it's hard to then see what we're missing, so to speak, in our broad perspective of awareness from all the information that we already carry. Hmm. Any additional or last message for group 2? that wishes to be shared now. Hmm. Because of the multiple death rebirths. The flag of rebirth, I think, for some is kind of like, again, like, that's not the promise. They're like, the promise is this. The promise is the vista, the shift of view. The promise is the shift of cleansing some of the rubble of the memories, and the cacophony of the multiple things that are might still be carried. And as you support that, instead of kind of going, okay, I'll have to like rebirth again. Okay, I'm going to have to end something again. They're like, the promise of the shift in perspective. Even I was really drawn to the red of the eye of the horse, and where they're gazing. Um, that will support in ushering you towards a clearer view of your role in a large role and responsibility in like, I see like a larger way for this group, that potentially some of you might be ready to actually step out into large community, into city even, I'm getting like, and to really assist some things from the things that I see in the pillars that are kind of like um, flanking that view, um, with the things that you think are like the things that fucked you over, or like the shitty bits, but those shitty bits like built actually some really um, potent awarenesses and ways of comprehending things that can support many. So there's a bit of kind of working with some dispersion, some shifting of how you connect to the duality that is within. Hmm. Ooh, I look forward to reviewing these, because I feel bits of message that I can chew on in all of them, right? So I'm just in such deep honor and gratitude to be in relations and connections, to those that are on live, as well as to those that I've tapped into and connected to for maybe watching this on replay. Um, and always with live, it's neat. I come in with like some type of semblance of structure, and then a lot of that kind of just as spirit steps in. So may you have some breath and water. Mm. Mm. Oh, group 3. I had to do a little sound clear. Obsidian. This is a great warder, and that's almost the energy for this group. They're sharing that. Kudos to watching this vid, uh, for there's protection work will support you. Protection work will support you. And the energy of even this card, accuracy is the word. 2-1. 2-1. Oh, that's going to be tomorrow. Hmm. Hmm. I see a very strong being. Hmm. One that almost has worked within some dark places that required strong protection. But then I also see within kind of like the shift of shadow and shade of this one color of watercolor on this page. The work of smoke, the work of breath. Yeah, there's been, you have in flamework, we acknowledge our wick. Okay. And so if I'm guided to acknowledge here your wick. Oh, bless. Thank you, Passion. I just saw that. Rest well, rest well. So in a wick of a flame, right? The beauty of that wick is that, as you see in the part of the candle, of course, well, we can't see that part of the wick because that part of the wick is still in the candle. And so if we were looking at it and simply like what is still untouched or not burnt, right? We know that this amount of the wick, right, that's in that candle is not burnt yet. And of course, we know that this amount, and you kind of because of the light of this flame, right? But if you looked at your flame or looked at a candle, right, you'd see a certain amount of the wick that is burnt. Okay. And naturally, in our cleansing, our energetic process, right, and moving through kind of like the area of us that feels kind of untouched or capable of still supporting transmutation, right? In that candle, it's quite a different ratio. There's a large amount of wick that is not burnt, and then there's probably this much of this wick that is burnt. Okay. And the neat thing about a wick is that naturally, like when I first lit that candle, the wick that was out of the candle was this much, actually, right? So but it then became this much because after it burned in the air, right, and supported this kind of the smoke and the shift of things with that while it was burning its flame, that part of it broke off. Part of it got charred to the point that it broke off, and now it's a shorter wick. My dog's wanting to come in for this one. I'm like, sorry, dude, I'm live. Hold on one sec. I'm going to get up for a second. Paco helps me a bunch with certain energies and live support. So I thank him. He was out. He was out and chilling for the rest of the live and steps in for this moment. So you've been burned a lot. Charred to the point for certain altercations from certain things. But you're still fully standing. Still like what I kind of shared with that longer wick that was burnt, right? And that it's not like part of you. There's maybe a couple parts that have shuffled off, but they're kind of sharing like there's still an unbrokenness to all that has been burned. An immense almost acknowledgement of your courage, acknowledgement of this is neat with the word accuracy, right? It's kind of like just the awareness that you are able to perceive the certain kind of intense situations that you could step into that could potentially even char a bit of you, but wouldn't break you. That's like a high quality level of discernment, a high quality level of being able to really suss out and know your yeses and nos. But sometimes they're sharing you might veer more so towards knowing more of the nos than the yeses. And so there is some ask with this card to almost like breathe some space into the level of smoke and intensity that encapsulates or like surrounds your energetic being. Um, Specifically, whoa, I'm seeing a lot of runes in these in for some of these messages. The energy of Fehu. So you're welcome to look up that rune. Wow. To look further into the messages of that. I won't have capacity to get further, as I said, into more on runic sharings in this live. And quite interestingly, you are aware. They're like you. They want to almost from all of these three groups. You are the most aware of how to protect, right? Like, but now that like, remember the message of their like warding would be important for you because sometimes because of your strong awareness of how to protect your capacity and your energetic being and to go into really intense situations, they're like some of the intense situations have kind of are starting to eat away at your wick. And because the majority of your wick has been burnt, they're like, we need to replenish. We need to now start to grow, right? Grow that, bring us some space amidst all the burnt and to grow some new wick to support you forwards. There's some tiredness that is around this group as well of the fight. So I would like to pull a card from the tarot, and this is from the This Might Hurt tarot deck to support this group. And it's really neat because I keep on also going to, I really have to share this. It's kind of wild now. I'm looking at, because these words on these cards are written in English as well as French. And, humility from group one with humilité, like it's pretty similar, right? In translation. The wisdom card, though, in French is shared as, I pardon my pronunciation, sagesse, but I'm really seeing that kind of like wise sage, right? Even like the awareness of the Hierophant in group two. And with group three, accuracy shows up as justice, right? Like I know it's my way of pronouncing it, but I keep on seeing justice. So be it that you have been working hard on revolutionary work, liberational work for a while, like one, I have to thank you for your work and your efforts and supporting much shift on this plane. And it's almost like now going like, now how can we tend to you? How can we tend to you to support you in still being such a beacon for many people, and to still just replenish. I keep getting that, like this replenishment um of aspects of your energetic being, not even no aspects of your soul. Whoa, so there might be a bit of retrieval work that is required too. And those things, don't get too speary about these terms, right? Like a lot of very subtle energy medicine is all based on soul retrieval, is on collecting or on some of the aspects that have been forgotten, but also in collecting and supporting kind of the mending of the whole once those things have been retrieved. Woo-wee. Reversal. Well, you know what? They're sharing. Okay, I very much honor reversals, but since this is a one card pull, I am going to focus on it first upright. and then potentially share some of the block. Okay. Because as we know, specifically with 5 cards, this is a 5 of Wands. No wonder, no wonder. Five card is lots of challenge, strife, conflict, and Wands is fire. Woo! So in this depiction, as you see of this 5 of Wands, like, how neat that even for, do you guys all wait. Do you all remember that my dog came in barking? He wanted to come in for this group, and now he's literally sitting, in front of me, cute and adorable and relaxed. But the energy of this group brought in a bit of that strife, brought in a bit about that struggle of, I'm really seeing like, it's some of these are like they're dogs. They're all dogs. They're all dogs. And what are they fighting over? They're fighting over who has the bigger stick, or who has or who's more capable of defending themselves in a big fight. Yes, we are in some big fighting times, and there's going to be a lot of consternation. There's going to be a lot of different points of view, or different reasonings why people join social causes and liberational efforts, different reasons. And I'm continuing to learn myself, right? Like, I have to continue to learn of different organizational structures. I have to continue to learn of ways of socially inserting certain ideologies into action, into ways of mutual aid, like support on the ground, like, doing all these different types of things. Like, so I do. Whew, okay. There's a lot. Because I'm literally seeing, it's like, you see there's a fence in the back, right? Like, this is almost like a dog park. Like, they're all there to in this same space, and there is such strife. Oh, like, look at this one. Like, maybe it's just because it reminds me of my dog. Kind of looks like Paco. That I'm having an extra connection to this one, or maybe it's also because literally there is an aggressive dog that's making some, like, that could be potentially trying to chomp it and munch on it. So I'm getting from this too, that as strong and capable and intensely, like, potently powerful, gosh, like, I'm just honored to be in the presence of you all. I have to keep on saying that, because the energies that are being shared are just like, wow, gratitude, thank you. But some of these fights now are not yours to, like, poke and just go into a baring and gnashing of teeth, because when we get into that, like, level of work with flame, it just leads to more death, and they're almost asking you to take a look at the reasonings for your current fight, to see, almost, I'm getting like there might be some intersections here that need to be unpacked, some shadow workings around, kind of like, almost like the overlap, because there is a lot of overlaps right now in multiple causes that we may find ourselves fighting for and really voicing up for and disrupting some shit on. And this is almost showing with it reversed, right? Because this is like conflict, yeah, but it came up this way. So it's like there might be a bit of fear to get in the ring, right? To get into the dog park, fear to get into the ring, and to get covered potentially with the blood and the dirt. And I'm getting that quote. Oh, I'll have to share it after. It's not of like the person that watches the fight, but that the one that's actually getting in the ring and doing the dirty. So there might be a bit of shadows to support your kind of positioning in liberational works, getting into the ring, um, doing some of the nitty gritty, the stuff that might be, that you still have to kind of like, oh, okay, I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to like open to something and do this. But and they're almost sharing that the learning, the new learning will support the new growth of more wick to help replenish that balance so that you can keep going. And yeah, there's a strong emphasis to continue just like going like, okay, as much as you share out, like study something a little different, study something that like brings up some curiosity and some interest, but a little discomfort, something that can support you in growing some, like literally some just new lines of energy to support you through this. Um, and to also then look at, yeah, the intersections. I keep getting that of like rage built up from potential, I'm almost getting like ancestral fights, things that really are old, ancient things that like grumblings, like you'll might even get like really rumbled by this message and want to like throw things at me too. It's okay. But yes, to honor, to just like you and your almost your tribe, your clan, so that some of you may be from indigenous roots, because I'm getting those specific words, have definitely moved through some really intense times on this planet, and multiple times. And so like almost how all of like how our collective liberation is going now, like it's like literally like awareness of one thing. It could even be like the awareness of like of Palestine, right, is going like that awareness now is like moving through into so many other aspects of your peoples, and it's really bringing up a lot of stuff that, yes, um has been burned, right, and has yeah, when I share smoke, or when I see a lot of smoke, like that is like right, like think of there's smoke work that's done, firework that's done in many different cultures. So yeah, this is that strife, or the grit, more so the grit or of what's arising within collective liberation, is bringing up a lot in self, in the yeah, and just all the ancestral lines carried within you. So to and so hence why there might be some trepidation to get right into the ring again, and rightly so, because that, like, in knowing how to protect yourself for so many lifetimes and so many generations, um right, like how to navigate things. And so there will be naturally kind of ways of saying like, nope, nope, like don't do, no, no, like this is okay, but this is not okay, because that could lead to you potentially dying, or like actually, like, yeah, like, you do see what I mean, like this is actually bringing up like fears in you of like that ancestors have carried, of actually like their life, like life threatening, um And so, hmm, dear spirit, what can I share? What can I share in further message for group 3? Easy, easy. And I know that sounds weird, but they're like easy. Easy does it almost like um, with because they want to ensure that you withstand and last this current strife, this current struggle, and it's literally feels like it's like blowing apart certain areas of your being. um how can they bring further ease into, or easy. Interesting. Yeah, this is getting involved. This is getting involved with, like, again, back into that learning. They're like, don't, not to think that this is like going, take time away from your cause, take time away from the shit and like regulate your nervous system. They're just like, no, no, no. Like, it's cool that you're doing the action and all of this, but be aware that a lot is multiplicity of intense experiences are arising within the self and are burning as well within this flame work that you're doing. And so to support the many in one, to support the whole within body, to support the whole within earth, um, it's about then going like, bring in many, bring many into the yard, and like learn together, like get help from each other, like start to get a really good support network. And I really feel that that will support you. You are not in it alone. The magnitude of what you're moving through, and it's not about then just going and like getting healing from a person. It's like about going, I am ready to do connection with circle, um, and to see that we can stand on equal ground. We can have at the center of that circle a place for an understanding that this is for liberation of self. This is collective liberation, as well as for justice and equality. I Woo! Thank you all for stepping in, these you powerful beings, and in these times where we can further decipher how to navigate this collide of things that we used to see as separate, of self and the collective. And this was much longer than I intended. But I was in a flow, but I did promise some sound work. And prior to that closing, so that you can just kind of like listen and then like doze off, or rest or relax or shake or move or cry or eat, whatever needs to process what arises in sound, and know that sound work you can repeat, right? You can do a couple times, or move, like do it a couple days until you feel it's like complete, right? That the ripples of that disruption have supported what's moving through that vibrational and pulsations within you. Okay. Um, is an invitation that I will continue, as I said, live YouTubes for Circle the Flame. Look forward to more of y'all participating in it as I get the flow of being live again. And if you wish to further continue and connect, you're welcome to come into my Patreon community. For as a free member, I share writings and certain things that can be freely accessed. And then in different tiers, it's just like different opting ins to step into further circles. And so the circle, kind of, if you're interested in further transmutative work together, which is energy cleansing and protection work, then you're welcome to step into the tuning forks. tuning forks tier. It's the second tier. And I will be sharing a private Zoom circle monthly for that tier. And we'll see how it develops, if it needs to be more than once a month to support some of the transmutative processes within our beings. That work is with ancients. So with that, I now give deep um, welcome. Welcome to our bodies. Welcome to those that we connect to. Allow yourself, if you've been sitting or whatever, by this point, you can just give yourself some stretches, some shakes, some movements. You're welcome to choose to lie down, lay back, to receive sound disruption, and which can support that dispersion or dispelling of things, to support your being remembering its innate capacity to support itself in space. We also then must give the deep gratitude for the privilege of that, the privilege of feeling safer in body as well as in home at this point in time. And that our work with our breath and our sound and our deep self-liberational works can then support us in further moving beyond body and home, potentially into our communities and our neighborhoods, the world at large. So let yourself just enjoy some ha's, letting out some sound. Feeling what already arose, right, within the receiving of that information. That's already ready to release out through your sound, honoring if there are blips and dips, right? To not like all of a sudden go, oh my God, that's something wrong. But it's just body responding, body responding. So I'll honor how body responds at this time. Can you give some gratitude and comfort and love to your body? Ooh. 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 Taking those graduated breaths in and allowing almost like a whoo sound on the way out. Allowing your limbs to feel soft, however they may be placed. Continuing to honor the rhythm of your breath, the sounds of your breath, however they may arise. Honoring that they do not have to sound exactly like mine. Just continue breathing. Tea tanto ku te tsejata, koto te tsenda kotuata, te jende akota, ite te atanda kota, te tsaka teta, ite tanda ko otata, ia katata te cheta, nanaka tarete te ata, te kota, ite te tsara, te katara, te chara, tatare kita. Yedada kadete te nanda kadaya tatite ate jana kadada tite. Undada hitsete hete pejatana kada yadada utete yedandaka. Breathing into your center and then allowing your breath to move beyond that center to all the rings of you. Thank you. I give deep gratitude to being in presence with you, even in this way. And until we meet again, I thank you for what you were able to receive. I look forward to reviewing and receiving more. And may we sit with and chew what was gifted to us from Tarot today to support us in these processes. I will keep the candle that I have lit burning for a bit to support more shifts as I close. I thank you if you ever so choose to share my works, or for us to come into further connections or relations. If not, I honor that as well. I honor space apart as well as between. Much love. Take care.